Former Congresswoman and ex-Democrat Tulsi Gabbard hit the campaign trail on Wednesday to boost South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem. In an onstage conversation, Gabbard, who left the Democratic Party in October, praised Noem's commitment to freedom and assailed modern Democrats for posing, in her opinion, a threat to citizens' liberties. Gabbard has spent the midterms campaigning for Republican candidates and urging voters to reject Democrats. Noem, who served in the House with Gabbard, is seeking a second term as South Dakota's governor. Most polls indicate Noem will prevail in her efforts and maintain her party's more than 40-year control over her state's governor's mansion.
Listen, Tulsi ran for President of the United States on the Democratic ticket, and she brought a necessary voice to that race, but she also recently has left the Democrat Party. What's more important to me is not only has she been someone who's been a patriot, served in our military, she's always stepped up when needed. And the good Lord knows we need more cowboys in white cowboy hats in this day and age, don't we? So I want to present to you a white cowboy hat from the state of South Dakota as a thank you for coming to our state and reminding us about the importance of showing up and voting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's my first cowboy hat ever, everybody.
Yay!
Thank you so much. Your continued governor, Kristi Noem, everybody. Aloha. It is so good to be here with all of you. Thank you for making it so I didn't have to wear a jacket here today. This is warm weather you got here. Aloha. It really is a privilege to be able to be here to join you, to join my friend Kristi at such an important time. There's a lot going on in the country. There's a lot going on in the world. And I've been able to go and spend these last couple of weeks, and I'll keep going until Election Day, going and helping great American patriots like Kristi to get reelected so they can continue the great work that they've already done. Everywhere I've gone, I'm trying to remember where I just came from. I don't even remember where. I was in Texas yesterday. We'll be going on to South Carolina tomorrow. But literally every single place that I've gone, you know, I go and talk to some of the local media. And I talked to the Dakota News Network earlier today before coming here. And it turns out that the reporter who talked to me said, Tulsi, you probably don't remember me, but I talked to you at the Iowa State Fair 3 years ago. And he said, at that time, you were running for president. And we were talking then about why you were running. It's kind of strange now you're here to support a Republican governor just 3 years later. What's going on? And what I talked to him about was, it's only strange if you're focused on the wrong things. If you focus on what connects us, the values, the principles, the foundational fundamentals of freedom, and our shared love of country, Kristi and I, our dedication to upholding our Constitution, then it's not strange at all. And that's why I'm here. And that's my message for all of you. In the closing days of this election, we have just, 6 days to go. There aren't many, but there are a few people who still don't know how they're going to vote. Maybe there are people who have heard things about Kristi Noem that aren't true. And they're trying to figure out what is most important to me and my family to make sure that South Dakota has the leadership that you need. What we need right now are leaders with courage, because the very spirit of our country and who we are as Americans is under attack. I took an oath when I first put on the uniform in 2003 when I enlisted. I took that same oath as a member of Congress, just like Kristi and every member of Congress does. But that oath was something that was seared in my heart, that I promised to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. The threats to our freedoms right now are not coming from a foreign country. They are coming from leaders in Washington who are abusing their power and seeking to undermine our fundamental God-given rights that are enshrined in the Constitution. This is the main reason why I left the Democrat Party, is because how could I, as a proud American, someone who loves this country and who's promised to defend our freedoms, align myself with a party that at every single turn is trying to take our freedoms away. We have seen this play out especially over the last few years, where anyone who dares to stand up against the Democrat Party or President Biden and his agenda, their radical woke agenda, they immediately attack, seek to silence us, and work with big tech to censor our voices. They're openly hostile towards people of faith, seeking to remove God from every facet of public life. How can we trust these people in power to uphold their oath and defend our freedoms when every single day they are taking action to take them away? We can't. And that's why Kristi Noem's leadership here in South Dakota is so important, because she has displayed that courageous leadership over these past years where you all have faced tremendous trials and tribulations, one after the other. And she's shown the kind of courage that many other leaders in the country have lacked. So even as you look forward to the next 4 years, is she asking to be able to continue to serve you, know that your decision and your vote not only impact your future here in South Dakota, but you are impacting the future of our country. Why is that? Because we've got a president and his administration and his allies in Congress who they're actively undermining the Constitution by trying to take more power away from us as individuals, more power away from governors, and put it in the hands of the federal government, saying they know best for us more than we do. Literally saying that sometimes directly to parents. Well, we know better how to take care of your kids than you do. We know what values are important for your children than we do. But what they're doing is actually harming our kids, undermining the foundation of civilization, which is our families. So what is the check and balance on that abuse of power? What hope do we have as everyday Americans to stop those who are in these great positions of power? The check and balance is having a strong governor who says, no, you're not bringing that stuff to our state. And when they use, there's a couple of tricks that they always use to try to get people to do what they want. Well, if you don't do what the federal government says, then they're going to take money away. And some people fall for that. Not Kristi Noem. The latest ploy that they're using in this is, this is the 50th anniversary of Title IX. Legislation that was literally enacted out of a recognition of a difference between the male and female sex. That's why it was created, and it was celebrated by people who were championing women's rights and equal rights. Well, now, 50 years later, as so many women and girls have benefited from the enactment of Title IX, they're trying to bypass Congress, backdoor a rule change through the Department of Education to take away the definition of who we are as women through our schools by inserting gender identity in that. So anybody who wants to be a woman or a girl can be. If schools refuse to comply, the federal government is saying, we're going to take the money that we have promised you to feed hungry children in schools who qualify for free and reduced lunch, we're going to take that money away. This is just one of many examples of the insanity that we see coming from the federal government. This party that claims to be the party of compassion, the party that fights for the most vulnerable, the most helpless among us, they are leveraging the poorest, most vulnerable in our kids to push and force compliance of this radical agenda. This is what's at stake. So we cannot sit on the sidelines and think, well, what happens in Washington is stays there. All those crazy politicians, they just keep doing what they want. At least we got something good here in South Dakota. You will only have that so long as you have a strong governor who is holding the federal government at bay and not allowing this insanity to come into your state. And so this is the message that I hope you carry with you to your friends, your coworkers, people you go to church with, people who you know may have decided, I don't know if I want to vote for Kristi Noem again. Tell them why it is important that she be allowed to continue to serve and lead and fight for you and for your children and your families, and upholding these freedoms that every one of us hold dear. Because if not, there is such a great contrast between Jamie Smith and Kristi Noem. If you don't stand up and allow her to continue to fight for you, you'll end up with someone who ends up opening the doors wide open to whatever the Democrat leadership in Washington wants to force here in South Dakota. This is not one of those elections where it's like, all those politicians, they all sound the same. It's just different shades of the same color. We've been through those elections before, right? Not this time. Not this time, and not with Kristi. She is her own person. She is a woman of faith. She is someone who has fought for her family, her community, and her state for so long. She has stepped up when others refused to. In the absence of leadership, she has shown the kind of courage that we need for such a time as this. But people like Kristi can't do this alone. The change that we need to see across our country right now requires every single one of us to take ownership and responsibility for our future. If we want to celebrate freedom, each and every one of us needs to step up and take action. If we want to ensure that this country we love remains for our kids to be able to grow up in and thrive, each and every one of us needs to step up and take action. Those first three words that our founders chose to use in the Declaration of Independence were very intentional. We the people. We the people. It wasn't those other guys in Washington. It wasn't, whoever you select to live in the governor's house, and we just get to sit back and watch things play out. No. They chose those words as a timeless, powerful call to action to every single one of us. That in order to maintain this country we love, to uphold these freedoms we hold dear, we the people must act to ensure our government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. So the marching orders that we have over the next week are not coming from me. They're not coming from Kristi. They're coming from the founding fathers. So I dare you to ignore them. If we do, it will be at our own peril. I'm so proud to be here to speak for and to support my friend Kristi, because I've had a chance to get to know her heart. During this time of year especially, there are so many ads on TV. It's easy to kind of just turn off the volume and say, man, I can't take any more of this stuff. But what you have here in South Dakota is someone very special. Really someone, yes. And I'm getting a little teary-eyed here because I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of how she has stood strong in the face of obstacles and adversity, because I know where that strength comes from. Unlike many other politicians, it does not come from a place of selfish ambition. She doesn't make those tough choices because she thinks, oh, this is going to make good headlines in the news, or it's going to make me more popular. She made those tough decisions knowing that it would bring attacks, knowing that people who she knew personally might judge her in a negative way. She made those tough decisions for you. She recognized that in these times of trials and tribulations, strong leaders must step up and lead. That's who Kristi is. She leads with her heart. She fights for you like she fights for her own family. And she'll never back down. Please, for your sake, for all of our sake, for our country's sake, do what is necessary to make sure that she is allowed to continue to fight for you and lead you. Thank you so much, everybody. We got 1 week to go. Let's re-elect Kristi Noem so she can show America what a leader looks like.